API Speedweek returns to the pavement at Five Flags Speedway this evening for SK Modified and Tour Type Modified racing. 40 laps for the SKs, 75 for the Tour Mods, and Day 6 is officially underway here for Elite Performance Industries Speedweek. Welcome to Pit Stop TV, and once again, we're here from Five Flags Speedway, rather, so changing things back over to the pavement from the dirt of last night at Volusia. No more dirt racing for the week. It's all pavement right here at Five Flags for 4 more racing over the course of 2 nights. Modifieds tonight, late models tomorrow. Emerson, thanks for joining me in the booth this evening. My name is Andrew Cardona IV, and we have got 2 races on tap that I personally am really excited for. Modifieds are just always a lot of fun to cover. They're always a lot of fun to race, to watch race. They're just a lot of fun.
Couldn't agree more. These things, they promote a pretty, it's a different type of racing. You know, it modifies, you see them, it can fall under the NASCAR umbrella, right? But they're open wheel, and they have so much grip. It's almost as if like an Indy car was built specifically for short track racing. I like this a lot, and I can't wait.
Let's take a look at the track map here for Five Flags Speedway. Of course, 4 corners. It is pretty much your classic oval shape. It's not anything too out of the ordinary, but as we've talked about all week long, there's so much character here at Five Flags. The bumps, the banking, the weirdly kind of curved front stretch, the short straightaways in general along sweeping corners. There's a lot to talk about still here at Five Flags, even though it is pretty cut and dry and oval.
Absolutely. We saw a lot in the truck race. We saw a lot of drivers struggle on the entries of 1 and 3 and the exit of 4, and caught a lot of drivers out as well with the bumps. You know, I don't know if we're going to see, you know, a similar type of fate happen tonight, but I can't imagine getting into the corners will still be just as tough.
Cars are on track for practice. We have SKs, of course, up first, and you can see them kind of lapping around here. Let's go trackside and check out what's going on. Brad Souza currently the fastest of our drivers in practice. Ryan Matthews second, Mario Ercolani third, Matthew Boniface fourth, and Jacob Harbert's fifth, as we have 11 cars, it looks like, for tonight's race. And Souza, the practice leader, runs up high in turns 1 and 2, and that is his run done. Ryan Matthews is in the pit lane, has been for a while, so he may be done. Ercolani's in the pits, but the first car on the timing charts that's on track currently is Matthew Boniface. Let's go on board.
Yeah, Boniface, he's had a lot of pace this week, hot lap pace and short run pace. It's been a struggle to see him kind of put things together over the course of a long run, over the course of an entire race. So Boniface, again, doing pretty well on the practice charts. We'll be looking to have a nice little result at the end of 40 laps tonight. Jacob
Harbert's one of the new drivers we've not seen any of yet this week. Here's the onboard with car number 1 as he fires off into turn number 1. Harbert's 5th quick so far. How about Matt Cucker, who is 6th on the practice charts? Oh, he's actually in the pit lane. How about that? So resetting, maybe making some adjustments there to the setup. How about Patrick Gitter, though? 7th on the speed charts in car 21. Brandon Minnick. And we're just checking out some of the onboards here as well. Here's the onboard with Minnick. This is actually looking back at Gitter, so an idea of where they are on the racetrack. And Minnick much higher in the corners, as Gitter really not able to make up much ground, but still some onboards there with the SK Modifieds. Tour types, they'll be a lot louder later on, but these guys are still a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, and Gitter actually just goes up to 4th quickest there right after we just got off that little battle on track here in practice. On board of Luke Baldwin. A little bit of gyro cam action. Oh, nearly getting up into the outside wall there. Had to correct it there off of turn 2. You get a look at the banking here at Five Flags. Just adds to the challenge here. That's why we've seen a lot of struggle with corner entry here.
And of course, Luke Baldwin, a younger relative to Tommy Baldwin. Modified racing is in his blood. He's a little off pace here with the SKs, but I'd expect Luke to be a bit faster later on in the Tour type modified, as he's got some experience, I believe, in 602s and probably SKs and Tour mods throughout the course of his couple of years of racing already. And he's working through turns 3 and 4 on this lap. Maybe it's faster here for Luke as he comes to the start-finish line, trying to beat a 16.094 that lap. That lap was a 16 1, but he's trying to get to his best lap of a 16:01. So this might be a long run for him, Emerson, where he's trying to see how these tires break in over the course of a run, and that's important, I think, for these guys. I know it's only a 40-lap SK race, but to get into a rhythm is rather important as Baldwin does go faster. It's a 15:960 now. That moves him to 8th quick. So to be mid-run and actually go faster, that's also pretty impressive.
Absolutely. What he's coming around to close out lap 23 on this run, so he's only going to get one more lap. But we've seen a lot of drivers take to the track, and not many have done long runs. You know, these tires, they're big and they produce a lot of grip. And he's actually going to come down and, well, I thought he was going to practice pit entry. He'll just reset there as practice is coming to a close. So he's going to be ahead of the curve with finding out if these tires start to lose grip there at about the lap 20 mark.
Practice will come to a close. Brad Souza, fastest of the session by 9/1000ths of a second over Ryan Matthews. Qualifying then up next for our SK Modifieds here at Five Flags Speedway. Thanks so much for joining us here at Pit Stop TV this evening. A big thank you, of course, to Tyler Payne and everybody at Elite Performance Industries for allowing this week of racing to happen. Pick up with qualifying Joshua Osborne, one of the first cars on track. Matthew Boniface, the other car on track right away. Let's go on board here with car 95.
About the front straightaway. Notice only 2 gears here in the modifieds.
Yeah, restart gear and a race gear. We talked about that with the truck race on Thursday, actually. They were trying to run 1 or 2 or 3 gears in that race, and you see a very similar concept here. It's still a Jericho transmission, but the modifieds only have 2 gears to have a restart gear, and well, kind of a start gear, and a race gear. Boniface second quick as Joshua Osborne goes faster his first lap. Brad Souza goes second. But Boniface was setting up for this lap, but across the line, it is better. And he will go pole so far out of 4 cars who have turned a time.
The top of the charts clear by 0.3 of a second as Souza goes top of the charts of a 15.899.
Minnick across the line will stay 3rd spot. Gitter, though, to the start-finish line this time will wrap up his run in car 21, and it's faster by a lot. It's not quite good enough for pole, but it will put him 3rd so far. Jacob Harbert's on track. He just began his lap.
And Harbert, he was one of the pace setters in practice. He was 3rd in practice, so looking to see if they at least duplicate that and maybe even do a little bit better here on his qualifying run. First lap in the books there. It'll be a 16.5, but setting up for this lap here.
Love this view on board in the modifieds. You see the window net. You can see a little bit there to the left side. You can see in front and even a little bit to the right of the driver. But to the start-finish line, lap 1, actually lap 2 for his qualifying run complete, and Harbert's will only go 7th quick. No, 2nd quick! All the way ahead of Matthew Boniface. That is a 15.940 for car number 1. A big lap there as Baldwin will go 7th quick. Matt Cucker only good enough for 9th. No, make that 4th. He moves way up the board as Mario Urcolani now is on track.
Yeah, and Urcolani, who's been an admin for half the week, he gets to come out and play a little bit as well here with the modifieds. And then the SK's Urcolani, the 10th driver on track to set a time. Also, Ryan Matthews out on the track as well. Both get to set a time on board of Urcolani.
And Urcolani did manage to get out and race for the truck race on Thursday, but had a lot of trouble in that one. And across the line to complete lap 1, Urcolani's first lap time, it's a 16.042 to be exact, a 10th.5 off pace, but the second lap has been faster so far. So here comes the lap of record for Mario Urcolani up out of turn number 4, and the EPI driver, number 41, will go faster again. It's a 15.9 in that range, a 15.955, and that moves him up to 4th position.
Showing a little pace there in the number 41 machine, and now we await Ryan Matthews. I believe might have started a 2nd lap, so I don't believe Matthews will get a valid timed lap in.
We've ever taken a qualifying replay before? I don't think so, but let's go back and see if there was any kind of incident here for Matthews as he attempted his first qualifying run in I think our first ever qualifying replay here on Pit Stop TV. This is Ryan Matthews during qualifying, misses the bottom, slides up the racetrack. I think he catches the wall right there and abandons the lap time, comes to a stop, and I think the tow actually takes him past the start-finish line, invalidating both of his laps. He's now on track again, but that's not going to count for anything, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't believe so. I believe Matthews is done in this qualifying session, and the thing here with Andrew is the outside of these cars, if you're not used to it, they really extend. And you may think you're not going to hit the wall, and he hits the bump there coming through turn 2, so even bobbles a little as well. But you may think you're not going to hit the bump, and then all of a sudden, the car a little bit wider than you expect, especially with how wide the tires are. Might catch that wall and get you a 0x.
He's doing something, though, that we've talked about before, just running extra laps here at the back end of qualifying. You might only get 2 timed laps, but on iRacing, you can keep running extra laps. So if he was making setup adjustments, he just got some much-needed data and much-needed testing there on the setup. So he'll still grid up in last place, 11 out of 11 drivers, but Emerson, sometimes that kind of practice, those couple of laps are invaluable when you're trying to make setup changes.
Absolutely. Especially, he might have had limited practice, so to get in here and get some setup adjustments, he was actually second in practice, so to kind of perfect the craft maybe and be ready for the race.
The qualifying timer comes to a close. In case you're new to us here at Pit Stop TV, by all means, go ahead and follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. We broadcast to 4 of the 5. We put social media updates on 3 of the 5. And we certainly would like to have you as a part of the Pit Stop TV community. 11 cars and a couple of admins as well, ready to go racing. The admins won't be doing the racing, of course. The 11 drivers will be doing the racing here at Five Flags Speedway this evening. Let's go ahead and go through your starting grid for the SK Modifieds at Five Flags. Brad Souza, car 31, will grid up from pole position. Jacob Harbert will start from second. Matthew Boniface qualifies in the 3rd spot tonight, so I think one of the best starting positions we've seen for him all week is Mario Ercolani will start from 4th. Matt Cucker will start from the 5th position, Emerson, and to round out the top half of the field, Patrick Gitter in car 21.
Row number 4, you're going to find the 9 of Brandon Minnick and the 12 of Angel Ortega. They are 7th and 8th, respectively. Row number 5 will find the 7 of Luke Baldwin, the 77 of Joshua Osborne, and to round out our 11-car grid, this evening will be the 51 of Ryan Matthews.
Michael Folds and Cameron Iverson, your admins this evening. A big thank you to them for their efforts to allow this race to go smoothly. So we're just waiting on 5th place Matt Cucker to grid up in car 69. He'll have a 12 on the side of his car, but scored as the number 69 machine this evening. And he will be starting from the 5th position, the inside of row number 3. Everybody else ready to go. Matt Cucker, I think, just maybe making those last-minute adjustments that we always talk about sometimes with these setups, at least in the open setup races we have. And, it's interesting, Emerson, we talk about the setup adjustments on occasion, especially last minute before a race like this. We're going to see more of that. We have an open setup race coming up as a part of your regularly scheduled programming here on Pit Stop TV Wednesday, and it's all for a whole lot of nuts and bolts for the championship in the Outlaw Sim Series.
Absolutely. These drivers, they have already been working hard over the past couple weeks because of the off week here for the build week. They've had extra time than normal to prepare for the championship finale at Richmond Raceway. Seth Berger, Max Service, Scott Bailey, and Jonathan Jennings about to do battle for a title for 300 laps in a first to the finish line shootout at Richmond. Of course, the other competitors of the season will be there as well to just add to the fun.
And of course, tomorrow night, Sunday, December 11th, we have got more racing here from Five Flags. Late model stock cars and super late models on the pavement. We've got 75 laps for the late model stocks and 100 for the supers. And those will absolutely be the races of the week. The most important that we have seen to this point, and the most important that we will see all week long. But SK's on track, 11 of them set to go racing this evening. We're so glad you're joining us here on Pit Stop TV. We really do appreciate it. Go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, what have you, and just strap in and get ready for some modified racing here from Pensacola, Florida. We're about to turn them loose for the first time this evening for day number 6. Green flag is going to fly. We're racing at Five Flags. One lap complete, nice and clean out front. Souza side by side with Harberts as they battle to turn 1. That is the 1 of Harberts on the top side. Visual number 80 on the side of the car, and a big bobble out of your race leader and pole sitter in Brad Souza.
That's right, but Souza able to hold on there over to one of Harbert's. Very clean start here in the opening couple laps from 5 flags. Souza with the fastest lap now. Ryan Matthews from the rear grid. Maybe those last second setup adjustments doing some wonders.
Matthews already into 8th, passing Luke Baldwin, Angel Ortega, and Joshua Osborne in the first 2 laps of racing. Now he goes down to the inside of Minnick, looking for the 7th spot, and he has got it quickly, as out front, Souza still has a mirrorful of Harberts out front.
Yeah, Harberts is here. He's studying the 31 of Brad Souza. He's maybe going to wait to see if the track or if the tire grip falls in his favor. Souza with the fastest lap again. That time of 15.899. We saw that in qualifying.
5 laps complete out of 40 for the SK Modified feature. That time, Souza faster. It's a 15.832. One-upping himself from a lap prior. Boniface in the 3rd spot. Cucker 4th. It's Getter 5th. Urkelani's 6th position. Further back, you'll find the battle where Ryan Matthews has moved into the 7th position and is chasing now Urkelani. So your hard charger very early. Started 11th, currently 7th, and working his way forward.
And again, Andrew, he didn't set a time in qualifying, but you saw him take a couple of goes out on the open track to test out that car. And it looks like in the early going, it's paying dividends. Looking to see now if he has anything for Urkelani and get her up the road.
It's a nose-to-tail battle here for the 5th position between Gitter and Urkelani. Gitter in the black and neon yellow, number 21. Urkelani in the black, white, and gold 41 car just behind. So this is 5th, 6th, and 7th on the racetrack. Add Matthews to the fight. Here comes
Look
a
at
run.
This run here.
Urkelani waiting for now. Thought maybe he was going to poke to the inside for that position, but it's still early to fight tooth and nail for 5th, Emerson. Still a good ways to go. This will only be a quarter way done this next time by.
Absolutely. Still a lot can happen here. Plenty of time to make some plans here and see if things can work out in one way or another. You can even try some stuff now and still have time to kind of make up from if it doesn't go the right way.
Still watching this fight between Urkelani and Gitter. This is still for 5th position. Matthews kind of hanging behind these guys, just waiting for an opening, really, to get by them. It's difficult to pass here at 5 flags already. It's more difficult to pass 2 cars that are fighting for their own spots. In fact, here's a battle between Baldwin and Minnick. This is for 8th spot. Baldwin taking a position away.
Yeah, Baldwin able to go on through the 9 of Brandon Minnick. Now Minnick under attack from Angel Ortega. This for the 9th position behind Baldwin, who's sitting 8th.
Up front, trouble. Matthew Boniface slides way back that lap. We don't have complete trouble. He didn't go around, as Ortega will get by Minnick, but problems that lap still for Matthew Boniface. Let's go back and see what happened to him as he goes from 3rd to 6th very quickly.
And Boniface, I throughout this week, man, I just can't see this guy catch a break. This one may be self-inflicted, but still, yeah, just catches the apron there, goes sideways.
Really good catch.
What a catch! But does lose 3 spots as to some 3 very good drivers. It's gonna be really very hard to claw back.
We haven't had many Save of the Week nominees, but that might be the first one as we watch these guys battle now on lap 16 of 40. Make that lap 17 of 40. The leader is still only 2/10 separated. These guys, though, they're a little further apart as now Cucker defends over Urkelani, who finally got by Gitter, and it is still in front of Boniface. Matthews still sits 7th as he now chases the 95 car, so just a lot of stalling, honestly, between these guys in the middle of the pack. No one really going anywhere now. Equalization, maybe, between all of those cars, but that's not the same up front. I think Harberts is starting to look a little better.
Not really sure yet. Looks like the times are still in the favor of Souza last time by, but they are still nose to tail. Harberts is not letting up at any point here, Andrew, and it very much still can fall in his favor here. Souza just barely opening the gap to a quarter second.
Watch the whole field go by there, and Souza's car is just tracking up much higher out of the corners. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just looks like he's starting to struggle over some of the bumps on exit, and the car is taking off a little bit, and that time, a lot of time made up there by Harberts. He's much closer.
You're right. That was about a 1/10 of a second he gained right there, and now he can start smelling the race lead. He can start sizing up Souza here, really have a go here in the next couple laps. Souza trying to claw back the advantage he had, but Harberts is not going to allow him to do so easily.
We are now past halfway in this SK Modified feature. No cautions to this point, and no lead changes either. Things are staying nice and calm out front, even though our leaders are getting a little closer together. Air temp 75 degrees, track temp 77. Winds calm out of the east at about 4 miles per hour. 17 laps to go.
I've been looking around the track, and you've kind of fallen into little couplets. Again, oh, we have a car slow on the front straightaway.
Ortega in a little bit of trouble, but hangs on. As now Matthew Boniface going to look at Patrick Gitter. This is for 5th. Matthews has fallen back. I think he might need a caution to get back in this race. Seems like he had a short run car, not so much for the long run. Cucker, though, he's starting to get caught, actually, by Ercolani. This is weird. Cucker had a big-time short-run car and has really backed himself up to these guys.
Yeah, not used to this. Actually, I'm more expecting Cucker to kind of leg it out in the long run here, but does not look like it's the case. Ercolani bringing the heat here with now 15 laps to go. Does he have anything for the 69?
This is the fight for 3rd and 4th. Ercolani pulling up on the 12 car. Looks to the inside that time, but really no opportunity. What he's doing right now, though, is keeping his left sides to the inside and trying to run just a little bit further down the racetrack. And let's go on board, actually, with Mario Ercolani. You can see that difference there, running a little further to the inside. That might be getting air to the left front and might be keeping that tire a little bit cooler. I'm not so sure if that makes a big difference on iRacing, but he could be just trying to stagger. I know, of course, in NASCAR stock cars, faster cars, you can keep staggered like that and keep left front downforce. But I wonder, Emerson, if he's trying to keep that left front further down the racetrack and keep it cooler.
Potentially. I've also seen there one of the onboards. It looked like Cucker was sliding through the center of the corner, and it looks like Ercolani is just much more controlled. So this may start to come to fruition here over the course of the final 10 laps. It could be exaggerated here, and Ercolani may have a go here. A little bit of the hole opens there to the center of 3 and 4. Doesn't take it, not close enough.
On board here with the 41. Ercolani that time pushes up out of the corner. Gitter and Boniface behind these guys, just trying to, again, that kind of thing where you're just waiting for an opportunity, waiting for an opening. If the driver's ahead make a mistake or gets battling. That said, Boniface actually was looking to the inside, now looks to the outside behind Gitter and loses a little bit of time that time through 1 and 2. Now Boniface comes down to the inside, puts his nose to the inside of that 21 car, this for 5th.
Boniface trying to claw back some of the lost positions here. He starts here with Patrick Gitter. Can't get it rolling just yet down on the inside, but he keeps his nose down there. And he's going to keep Gitter glued up high.
Luke Baldwin will pass Ryan Matthews for 7th as these guys battle for 5th. Boniface has the nose ahead. And he will clear him right there, and it's maybe a lift there for the 21. Any contact into the 3? The answer is no, as Ercolani slides big time out of turn 4.
And that may be the mistake. That may be all Matt Cucker needed to hold on to the final spot on the podium. Back to the lead. Harbert's still sizing up Souza. Souza not cracking under the pressure.
Very close here between your top two. 5 laps to go now. 5 flags for the SK Modified feature. They're closing in slowly but surely on lap traffic. If the tires are going away out of the 77, we might have to talk about that lap car being in the way in the next 4 laps of action, as we have 4 laps to go. 2 miles left of racing.
And the opportunity is starting to fade away. You only have a couple more goes here to really get a better exit, to set up a pass, to make a lunge. Here now with 3 laps to go. What is Harbert's going to do? I'm sure he doesn't just want to sit there and watch this one drive away from him.
It'll be popsicle sticks this time by the start-finish line. 2 laps to go, and you can see the distance to that lap car shortening up. Question is, does Harberts use the bumper at all? We've really not seen that this week. A lot of respectful racing, but that could change.
He's going to have to get close enough first to do so. Here's the final lap.
White flag presented by Whiplash Sim Cams for the SK Modifieds at 5 Flag Speedway. Out of turn number 2, it's a couple of tenths the distance and simply too far on the racetrack for Jacob Harberts to do anything about it. Brad Souza is going to win the SK Modified feature for EPI Speedweek at 5 Flag Speedway.
Brilliant job from Brad Souza. I believe he leads every single lap, green to checkered there. And, well, no immediately pull off the track, so no celebration. But I'm sure the $30 will feel very nice to Brad.
You can see some fireworks there on a turn number 2. These guys quick to get up out of their cars. And let's go ahead and go through your unofficial race results, as we had quality stuff out front from Brad Souza. As you said, Emerson, leading every single lap of competition here for the SK Modifieds. Brad Souza wins by 2.5 tenths, exactly a quarter of a second over Jacob Harberts. Matt Cucker 3rd, Mario Ercolani 4th, and Matthew Boniface narrowly in the 5th position.
6th will find the 21 of Patrick Gitter. 7th is the 7 of Luke Baldwin. Brian Matthews, who started off great, he only loses 1 spot after he clawed his way up to 7th, so he'll finish 8th. Brandon Minnick 9th. Angel Ortega rounds out the top 10, and 11th, it'll be the 77 of Joshua Osborne. Everybody finishes on the lead lap. The 2 admins there, Michael Foltz, Cameron Iverson, doing their work tonight for the 40 laps.
We appreciate that help as always. Waiting on some drivers to join us here for interviews, and it looks like we should at least get Souza, maybe even Harberts as well. And who knows, maybe we'll get Matt Cucker potentially for that 3rd position interview. But otherwise, Emerson, let's talk about some upcoming broadcasts here for the channel. We have quite a few of them. Of course, we had a lot more going into this week that has kind of shortened up a little bit. We have a few days now to calm down, it seems like, potentially. But let's bring up the graphic here as, well, next up, of course, tomorrow night, we have late models for EPI Speed Week's conclusion here at 5 Flags. Then Wednesday, we talked about it, the Outlaws Sim Series from Richmond. So more short track racing, but with NASCAR next-gen vehicles and for a championship. And then Thursday, we're going to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park with the North American Racing League GT3 field. Season number 4, race number 3 on December 15th. And it looks like we do have our top 3 waiting. So Emerson, let's grab race winner Brad Souza, car 31, going to victory lane after leading all 40 laps. And Brad, the SK is a nice good way to warm up this evening, and you do so with a race win.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
And of course, it's not easy to go out there and lead 40 laps, especially with somebody like Jacob Harberts breathing down your neck. How did you do it?
These are kind of my cars. Ever since day one, I started racing on iRacing. For some reason, I just love these things. And Kenny Seams built me a fast hot rod, as he does every week. And I kind of bobbled a little bit in the middle of 1 and 2 in qualifying. I didn't think I was going to get the pole, but I ended up getting the pole and worked out good.
Now, we've been asking drivers the same thing pretty much all week long. Where do we see you race next? Do we see you in the Tour Type Modifieds here in a few moments?
Yeah, I'll be there in the tours.
Well, there you go. Brad Souza with a nice little win to open up the evening. Some side cash as well. Brad, congratulations on all 40 laps led in the race win. We'll see you for Tour Mods for 75.
Thank you, guys, and thank you, Tyler Payne and EPI, for putting this race on. I appreciate it, and good race to Jacob, who was pretty much on my back bumper the whole race there.
Well, there you go. And Brad, we do love the paint scheme as well. Definitely festive and in the spirit. Brad, congratulations. We'll see you later.
Thank you again. Take it easy, guys.
Brad Souza with a nice cool win here at 5 Flags. Let's bring in now Jacob Harberts out of car number 80, who goes second.
And Jacob Harberts had a great race tonight. Looked like he started to really light up there towards the end. Started to close up that gap to 31, but just not enough. Jacob, what could you have done differently?
Overall, car was just a little bit snug, especially on entry throughout the whole race. I was just good enough to just hang on to the back end of Brad. There was one time in the race he kind of wiggled a little bit. I got up to his bumper, but we were just so close on speed, and I really just needed him to make one more wiggle for me to have a shot at the win, I think.
But nonetheless, to keep that pressure on for 40 laps, I'm sure that took a lot out of you, but do we expect to see you in the next race with the tour mods?
Yeah, I'll be in the tours. Hopefully, the longer race plays a little bit more in my favor. I think I got the car hooked up for that one, so we'll see what happens in the next one. I'm sure Brad and many others will be just as fast as they were in this race, so it'll be tough.
Well, there it is. Second place finisher Jacob Harbitz. Congratulations on the second place finish, and he'll be looking to do one spot better in the tour mod race.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Harberts with a solid finish. Let's now bring in Matt Cucker, who goes from the fourth or fifth position? Yeah, fifth starting position on the grid to third place. And Matt, we saw you a couple of nights ago in the truck race. Obviously, a missed shift, it looked like, on the restart. Less gears to go through in the modifieds. How'd your race go?
We had an alright car. Thanks to the Zeem Setup Shop guys, they put together a great machine here. I've been focusing more on the trucks lately, so not the short track side. So this was nice to be able to come back and to the short track side and be able to compete up front.
And, it's interesting because I know your name from short track racing here on the sim. So what's the adjustment like going back to these short track cars, especially the SK Modified, which has less power, about half the power as the Tour Type?
Last time I drove these is probably, I'd say, over a year ago, and they've changed drastically. We practiced with the Zeem Setup guys, and I was out to lunch, and I was just very surprised I was able to come up to third here in this race. And to be able to stay in the throttle as much as you can, and it was awkward.
Well, Tour Mod's coming up, and I think there'll be a little more off-throttle time in those cars. How do you feel for that one?
I'm feeling all right. We've been practicing today, and the Zeem Setup guys put together another good machine, so we'll see what happens.
Well, there you go. Matt Cucker from the third position. Matt, congratulations on a podium finish here to get the night started. We'll see you here in a little bit.
All righty, thank you.
And that will do it then for the SK Modifieds Emerson 11 cars. We had a pretty solid race, a nice quick race, a good way to get warmed up.
Absolutely. I think we learned a little bit. It is pretty difficult to pass, but, short straightaways, low power, that was probably going to be expected. I'm very excited to see what we can do with a little bit more power and a longer race coming up next. And it was fantastic. Clean race, green all the way to checkered, and, can't ask for much more.
Now, if this is it, if you're done with just SK Racing, if that's all you're watching for this evening, we understand, but we do hope you'll join us for some upcoming broadcasts here on the channel. We've talked about them a couple of times, so we won't go through the full list again, but we've got, of course, EPI Speedweek continuing on tomorrow, Outlaws on Wednesday, and North American Racing League GT3 action on Thursday. Otherwise, we just simply hope you'll stay with us here at Pit Stop TV as we go to intermission between races. We've got Tour Type Modifieds coming up in just a few moments. 75 laps for the Tour Mods. We'll see you there.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back to the virtual Five Flags Speedway Tour Modifieds, coming up with 75 laps on the docket. This is going to be an exciting one. I think this is kind of when we get into some of the big cars, the big races, Emerson. I know the car is more or less the same. Visually looks the exact same as the SK, but it's got a lot more power. It's a little more big boyified compared to the SK. It's a lot more fun in general.
Absolutely. We beefed up the power. We beefed up the lap times. We're down 6/10 from what we were running in the last session. And I am ready to see how these cars perform with 75 laps to do work here.
And the session advance is coming here shortly for practice, but practice is on track. You see a look there at the Five Flag Speedway. The fastest lap ever here on iRacing, at least in official racing, by a Tour Modified, a 14:287. We're about a second off of that, but that was set by Keith Jeffrey out of the US of A. Practice times, well, as practice comes to a close, Brad Souza once again fastest over Jacob Harberts, Kevin Ammon, Luke Baldwin, Patrick Gitter, Matthew Boniface, Brandon Minnick, Mario Ercolani, Kyle Ammon, Ryan Matthews, Joshua Osborne, and Matt Cucker. Angel Ortega takes no laps in this session. But we have got 13 cars, Emerson. 13 cars, that's an exciting one.
Absolutely. Some more time, more cars to spread the love. Should be a good one. We have Brad Souza, he just had a very successful outing just a few moments ago. He's going to look to double up on that cash he earned here, and he's getting those tires warmed up. It takes a lot to get those tires heated up of how thick those tires are. And I mean, we were seeing fastest laps still being clicked off 8, 9, 10 laps into the race.
Souza, one of the first to get to the start-finish line to wrap up lap 1. Of course, that first lap, he was just trying to warm the tires up, but he is second quick to Brandon Minnick. And this will be the lap of record here for Brad Souza in car 31 into 3 and 4. Right down on that bottom line, up to the start-finish line. Race 1 winner on the night, SK winner. Souza, does he go to the top of the board? Yes, purple at a 15.366, a tenth and a half faster than Minnick so far. Ryan Matthews goes third. He's got one more lap of the bank here in the number 51. Through turns 3 and 4 and back to the start-finish line. And the 51 car will go from 4th to 2nd within a 10th. Kevin Ammon, second lap here. Kyle Ammon will go to 5th. Here's Kevin to the start-finish line to wrap up his run as Boniface goes to 2nd. Here is car 7 of Kevin Ammon to the line. And that lap, it looks like, does not count. How about Luke Baldwin back on track here as Matt Cucker is 8th in qualifying. He just finished 3rd, Emerson, in the SKs. Talking about how he hasn't run a whole lot of short track racing recently. He is not qualifying well tonight, but, well, there he goes, up to 4th place. So maybe I spoke a little too soon.
Yeah, he puts it up to 4th. He did have to do a little work in the 40-lap event to go from 5th to 3rd. And is still, there's 75 laps here tonight, so plenty of time for him to go from 4th to work his way forward.
And that's Ercolani across the line. He will go 7th quick. How about Luke Baldwin now in car 007? And he's going to spin it out of turn 2 into the outside wall, and that will conclude his qualifying run. That is it for Luke Baldwin's attempt. He will start from the rear of the field tonight. Weather conditions in the Tour race, Emerson, 68 degrees. in the air, 69 on track. It has cooled down a bit, and it's still cooling down now to 67.9. So we lost a tenth of a degree while checking the graphic. Winds now shifting to the southeast at 3 miles per hour. So cooling down, calming down. It's a good night for racing.
Absolutely. It makes it difficult for these drivers, which is fun for us. A great spectacle. We were seeing the last race that, again, the tires took a while to warm up. We got about 6 laps in before Souza set the first fastest lap after the opening lap. And then they were still setting fastest laps through laps 8, 9, and 10. We saw just how aggressive Souza was warming up his tires on his first timed lap. It is very cold. 69-degree track temp is a very cold track. These are some thick tires to get warmed up. So these drivers got to do a lot of work here to get the most out of their tires.
Harbert's first lap, it's a 15.803. That is 10th quick. Dead last of the times that have been completed so far. So he was just second in the SK race. Qualifies 10th so far. Is it any faster on lap 2? Wow, a 15.350. That might be pole, Emerson. And yes, new purple lap time. Attic to basement on the scoring pylon. Harbert's will sit on pole.
The giveaway around their basement to attic, but the Harbert's does go.
Did I say attic to basement?
Yeah, you did.
Well, from to the attic from the basement. There we go. Anyways, same thing. He goes from the very bottom to the very top of the totem pole. Does that work better?
Yeah, but you know what? This is going to be intriguing here because we saw, Souza over Harbert's in the initial start because Souza had the pole and he was the control car in the initial start of the last race. Now Harbert's is going to be the control car, and maybe he may be able to get Souza cleared, and then Souza's going to be on the back foot. So we just kind of inverse the situation from last race, Andrew.
A big shout out to our partners here with Pit Stop TV, Whiplash Media Sim Cams, SimRentMarket.com, and Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, all doing so much for us here at the channel. And of course, a big shout out to Elite Performance Industries for making this whole week of racing happen. We are so proud to be partnered with them for this week of racing, for EPI Speedweek, and hopefully for many events in the future. Harbert's will sit on pole for the Tour Mod race as we get set for 13 cars to go for 75 laps here from virtual Pensacola, Florida. Qualifying comes to a close officially as Emmon will line up, it looks like 11th, Baldwin 12th, and that will put in the 13th position, it looks like Joshua Osborne in car 56. Let's go ahead and go down your entire starting field. Emerson out front on pole. We talked about it. Harbert's quickest of the bunch in car 80. He flips the script on Brad Souza, as now Souza will have to start from second. Starting third place, you'll find Matthew Boniface in car 95. Ryan Matthews will start from fourth. Starting fifth, it'll be Matt Cucker in car 69. Same starting place as the SK race. So that'll be a lot of fun to watch as he battles from fifth, and Patrick Gitter will start from sixth. Emerson, that's the top half of the field.
7th will find Vatoria Brandon Minnick, the 41 of Mario Ercolani. He will start in 8th to round out round number 4. Round number 5 will find the 17 of Kyle Ammon, the 12 of Angel Ortega. He will start in 10th. Round number 6 will find the 7 of Kevin Ammon, the 007 of Luke Baldwin will start 12th. And to round out our grid, well, that'll be our 2 admins. And then Joshua Osborne will be starting 13th in that number 56 machine.
Yeah, so the view for Osborne as he gets ready to go racing this evening, along with everybody else, is this. You see all 12 cars that he's got to fight in front, and, how daunting is that, Emerson, as a driver, to be in this kind of position and see everybody in front of you, and know that you've got to pass every single one of those cars if you want the most cold hard cash out of this race.
I mean, it is pretty daunting to start shotgun on the field because you don't really know what to expect in the opening laps. We've seen these drivers be aggressively warming up their tires. So, I mean, these tires are going to be ice cold heading down into turn number 1, Andrew. And who knows what's going to happen? Are you going to be able to stop in time? But once you get through the opening set of laps, then it is just a challenge of climbing your way up the ladder, which we saw was difficult last time out just a few moments ago. So that's going to be a tall order there for Joshua Osborne.
Well, we see a bunch of you on Facebook, a bunch of you on YouTube. So those of you watching this evening, let us know who you're rooting for, who you're pulling for, and where you're watching from. Of course, I'm out of North Carolina, Emerson out of Texas. We're kind of positioned all across the United States. Let us know where you're watching from, where you call home, at least kind of a general area. We love to know. We love to know where we get to with these Pit Stop TV streams and kind of here. Sometimes we get people from across the world, and I know we have a couple of international leagues that we cover, so that helps with that, but it's really cool to hear sometimes people are watching from more than just the United States and Canada, but from places like Australia or what have you. So by all means, let us know where you're watching from this evening as Jacob Harberts wraps up the first place lap from pole, of course, but we've got racing 75 laps of it for Tour Mods. This is cool. We don't do this kind of thing very often at Pit Stop TV. We get a lot of sports car racing, which is fun and everything in its own right, but to have Tour Mods on track is going to be special.
Absolutely. The big, beefy modifieds ready to do battle here. Five Flags, fantastic night, fantastic car, fantastic venue, and I can't wait.
The iRacing.com pace car down to the safety of pit lane, and we light up some Tour Mods to go racing this evening. Green flag is out for 75. Side by side between your top two in turns 3 and 4 to the start-finish line, and Brad Souza spins in front of the entire field. He goes flipping into the catch fence. Baldwin involved in the back. Boniface involved again. Wow. No back-to-back, no nightly sweep for Brad Souza.
Massive junk him up on the front straightaway, Andrew, and that's kind of what I was expecting. Unfortunately, with the higher power, the lack of heat in the tires, a very cold track, it was going to be hard to get those tires warmed up, and he went out there up into no man's land trying to get the advantage on Jacob Harberts, and just lost it there on exit.
It was loose out of 2, loose out of 4, collects Boniface, collects Cucker. And wow, Baldwin gets hit trying to stop, I believe. And Brad Souza done on lap 1. And actually, I wonder if he actually led to the start-finish line. If he still kept the lead to the start-finish, we'll see it here.
I don't think so.
Almost. No, he will not. I thought maybe he got there still, but wow.
Wow, coming at you on that camera shot, though. Okay, he got some pretty decent air as well.
Yeah. We'll find the onboard here for Luke Baldwin. And it looks like he gets hit from behind trying to come to a stop for this accident. And you'll see here a bit of contact, and Baldwin, oh, he really gets hit by the last place car. I think that was Joshua Osborne.
Just mentioned that, Andrew, too. You know, it's so difficult to start back there, and then you don't know where that wreck is going to happen. You got to be ready to stop, and I don't know if he was.
Well, you don't want to stop either. You want to try and go through it if you can, as there's Cucker getting some damage and getting involved here into turn 1. Goes for a spin, but he is now second in the pace field. So while he goes for that spin, maybe gets hit a little bit in the right side Nerf bars, he'll be restarting from second on the outside of row 1 once we go back green flag racing. Lap 5 of 75 under caution, and just wow how things change.
And we went clean and green for the first 40 laps on the evening, and almost 41 there, but it was going around from he was the leader at that moment in time, Brad Souza, but trying to hold on to it on that outside. I was just about to say, it looked like Harberts just was giving up control of the race so early, but Harberts kept his car under control.
So that leaves 9 cars in the race, it looks like. There's Boniface in the pit lane. He had to, not tow actually, he just had to pull down to the pit lane. Osborne in the pits after some damage, Baldwin as well. And it looks like they might all be done, and Harberts is going to lead us to the green. Green flag is back out on lap 6, call it lap 7 now. So just when we thought we had the biggest field we've seen in a few days, unfortunately, big trouble from Brad Souza, and he has, of course, taken ownership of that crash. That's tough. I can only imagine what it's like. Go out there, dominate the first race, second race, you spin on lap 1, collect, a quarter of the field. That can't be easy to swallow, as a bobble there at a minute, he'll drop back into the 4th spot behind Ryan Matthews. And now a side-by-side battle between the Ammons.
Yeah, Kyle and Kevin Ammon going at it for that 5th position. And it looks like Kyle will hold station over Kevin. Everybody gets back into a single file line. And we're going to try to click some laps off here as Harberts continues to go faster.
A 15.375 that time for Jacob Harberts. Matt Cucker second, then Ryan Matthews third. Brandon Minnick, Kyle Ammon, Kevin Ammon, Patrick Gitter, Angel Ortega, and Matthew Ercolani. Your 9 cars left running. And let's go back to Ercolani. We talked about this kind of view with Joshua Osborne before the drop of the green, Emerson. Ercolani, this is not the sight you want to see behind every single car in front of him.
Yeah, this is tough, and they're all packed up in front of him as well. It's not like he can just make, one pass and, get clean air. If he gets in there, he is getting in there. He's going to be getting nitty-gritty in that pack, and it looks like it's just driving away from him more than anything.
Maybe a long-run car potentially there for Ercolani. We'll have to wait and see. As Kyle Ammon moves down to the inside of Brandon Minnick. This is for the 4th position. And Kyle's going to have that spot. Now Kevin's going to try and follow suit as Minnick just trying to hang on right now. He didn't hold up, unfortunately, over the course of a long run in the SK race, and it's starting to be the same way here in the Tour race. Losing another spot as Ammon has cleared him. This is now Patrick Gitter to the inside of the 3 car.
And he is just steadily dropping down the running order. Now the door is going to be open. Well, he's still going at it with Gitter, but this is tough. And again, we saw how packed up they were from Ercolani's onboard, Andrew. Once you kind of get bumped out of that line, there's not really a spot to get back down.
This the onboard now with Minnick. Losing more and more time out of Indiana. Now slides in behind Angel Ortega, just trying to make sure he gets in line. I think he had a little more room than he thought, but he gets in line there in the 8th spot. And up front, Jacob Harberts. Emerson, this is smooth sailing right now for our race leader. He has got 8 tenths and more back to Cucker since the drop of the green. At least the drop of the restart, I should say, some 12 laps ago. Very smooth sailing for car 80.
And here's the thing. We saw he had pace, obviously, last race in the SKs. First of all, these cars are different. They have more power, and they drive a little bit differently. But also, he's in clean air. He is just absolutely legging Matt Cucker. Here, we'll see if we can keep this pace up over the course of the rest of the 75. Now, 56 laps to go. But at the moment, he's looking like he's going to open up such a large margin. It might not even matter what his tire wear is.
Now officially up over a second for Harberts leading as Ercolani and Minnick are going to do battle for the 8th position. Boniface and Baldwin, it looks like, have officially left the session and called it a night here with the Tour mods.
Yeah, Joshua Osborne, I'll give him credit. He did just say that he'll be back on track after his damage repairs. So he doesn't have to. He could have easily just left, but Osborne is looking to get back out there just to have some fun here to close this week out.
The Ammons side by side. Kyle loses a spot to Kevin. A swap for 4th. I see Justin Lone watching from Blacksburg, Virginia. I also see Zachary Plays on YouTube watching from Rhode Island. Good to see you guys checking in this evening. I see Brandon Herzing in the chat. I see, of course, Tyler Payne, Brad Souza, and more over on Facebook. Nearly a third of the way through this race, Emerson, and things are starting to string out.
Absolutely, but I think, a lot of these drivers, they'll get to experience these cars a little bit more with the way this race is kind of stringing out. You can kind of run your own line. You can get more used to the car. If you're in this battle, this pack right here that we've kind of been watching all day, it's starting to kind of spread out, so you won't be as penalized if you were to make a move, and if it weren't to work, you are not going to get freight trained like crazy, because now there's space to get back in line. So, the spreading out, it kind of does take away a little bit from the battle, but I think it adds, because you're able to do a little bit more with the added space.
Patrick Gitter closing in on Kyle Ammon. This would be for 5th position. I do also want to talk about Ryan Matthews. He's struggled a lot this week, unfortunately. A track champion at both Dominion Raceway in Spotsylvania, Virginia, and at Langley Speedway in Hampton, Virginia. 2 fantastic racetracks, by the way. Genuinely 2 fantastic racetracks that I've had the pleasure of going to myself. I really do enjoy both Dominion and Langley, and this guy gets it done out there in his limited late model. A fantastic racing driver, usually a lot stronger on iRacing, just an off week maybe for him on week 13, but he's doing great in this Tour race. 3rd place by virtue of that caution on the front stretch, keeping his car clean. I know it's, kind of by default because he got through that crash, but I think he's showing some speed on this long run. He would have passed cars anyways, and he moved up a lot in that SK race after starting dead last, even though he practiced second. So Ryan Matthews, bit of an up night tonight, turning things around a little bit, and this is a big part of it.
Absolutely. We saw Matthews. He worked this way through the field a good bit. Then he ended up losing a little bit of pace there towards the end of that race. He lost 1 spot, but he was able to still finish 8th out of the 11 cars in the last race. This time, he's going to be in a much better position. He started a little higher in the field. It looks like he's closing the gap on Matt Cucker, and he still has a lot of time to go here. If you save this stuff, and maybe he just has a setup more suited for a Tour mod, he may be a-okay.
Still on board here with Matthews as he chases the number 12 of Matt Cucker. And right down to the apron, just caught a bit of it, and that gets that car sideways, more sideways out of the second corner, and loses everything he's worked for over the course of the last 5 or 10 laps. That's tough. But it's so easy to do with these modifieds as well. It's very, very easy. There's a little bit more grip than you might expect. Certainly more grip than in a late model. More mechanical grip. So you're able to turn on the track a lot of times more than you might think. And I think it leads to drivers over slowing a lot because you actually have more grip from just the tires alone. And right there you saw him get down to the bottom of the racetrack, clip the apron, go for a slide. It's a very, very common thing to do in a tour type.
Absolutely, and we've ran enough laps now. The tires are definitely at their optimal temp, and a little bit more here, they might start to fall off. But you can lean on them at this moment of the race. You can absolutely lean on them, trust them a little bit more. And I know that mistake is gonna hurt, but you gotta keep in it because you never know if it might happen the other way around. You're right on board with Angel Ortega, who's trying to chase down Ercolani and get her up the road.
On board with Ortega, lap 38 of 75, and that is halfway, Emerson, in this Tour Mod race. This kind of gives us a preview as to what we're going to see tomorrow night. Gone are the 40-lap races. Here are 75 and 100-lap races. 75 laps in the late model stocks tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock. And shortly thereafter, we'll open things up for super late models to go 100 laps of racing in the virtual Pensacola, Florida. And I gotta say, this has been some of the cleanest short track racing I think I've ever seen on the iRacing.com sim. I don't need to really even go into the fact that if you jump into your average late model race or modified race and official racing, sometimes you're not going to find very clean racing, certainly not in street stocks or what have you. So if you're a short track racer on iRacing, you know what I'm talking about. This has been amazing. We saw, sure, maybe a slew of cautions in the truck race to get going, but once we had a couple of those to just get the jitters out of our system, Emerson, fantastic stuff the entire night. And that's been the course of the week, really. We've had a couple of cautions here and there. The big yellow here in the Tour race, but otherwise clean and green. These guys spreading out. And we're seeing legitimate short track racing take place, where these guys are having to battle the tires, conserve the tires, and battle the track more than anything else, as well as each other, as Gitter loses a spot there to Ercolani. But this is the kind of short track racing I think a lot of fans miss in a lot of ways. Nothing against NASCAR racing, but a lot of those races do tend to have a few more cautions. You don't see as many of these long runs on short tracks anymore, certainly not on iRacing. So this is really refreshing to see. This Elite Performance Industries Speed Week in that way has to be a hit.
Absolutely. And I'm not someone that dabbles, too much into short track racing. In my mind, it kind of is just kind of all chaotic. And a lot of cautions, but this is kind of shown that if you can get the right group of drivers together, you can have some fantastic racing. And again, I think the best part about it is if you can get to this point in racing, you're letting the driver do the talking more than anything.
We're letting Mario Urkelani talk rather loudly right now as he has passed Patrick Gitter and is starting to set sail a little bit in that number 41. This time he allows Gitter to go on by, missing the corner in one. Very odd. But Urkelani allows the 21 to go right back on by for that position. Very surprising. Meanwhile, Kyle Ammon has rolled up on Ryan Matthews. Matthews recently losing third to Kevin Ammon. So things changing. Definitely long run setups for the Ammons. Not so much for Matthews.
Now, we did see, though, Kevin and Kyle went to do battle with one another, and Kevin opened up that gap to Kyle Ammon, and now Kyle has to deal with Ryan Matthews as well, which is going to allow Kevin to open up the gap. And it'll be something to see if maybe Kevin was being more aggressive here to start, or if Kyle was saving anything. But how about Joshua Osborne? I was talking about this earlier. There's not really a whole lot, to say. He easily could have left, but he's back out here.
Yeah, props to Joshua Osborne deciding to get back on track, run some more laps here. And, he's not going to make up the 40 laps that he's down currently, but he can, at the very least, go out there and, beat the couple of guys that he's already passed. In fact, he's not going to pass anybody that is currently on track. He's just out here to have some fun, turn some more laps, finish this race, if possible, as Ryan Matthews continues to sink, and he's pitting Emerson. This is not what you want to see. That's it. He's done. So, complete, the duality of man right there on display. Joshua Osborne comes back out 40 laps down, and Ryan Matthews parks it with 25 to go.
Oh, man. Well, you know what? I guess Ryan Matthews might have seen it. Might have done the math. Just, get out of here with the 9th place finish. But, yeah, it looked like Ryan was just kind of struggling, dropping through the running order, and maybe he just didn't want to kind of hold up anybody else. He just politely kind of got off the track. He said that he'll call it a night.
So the Ammons moving up the racetrack, or they may be closing in on Matt Cucker. Could we have a battle for second here soon? On board with the number 7 of Kevin Ammon. That time is coming down.
And, this is what Matt Cucker, he's been out here now for a while. He hasn't been under pressure for a while. I wonder if he's just kind of in the cruise mentality, maybe saving something, or if in that moment that he was kind of really going at it, he might have burnt up his stuff. But Kevin, we saw him, really go at it and get by Kyle very quickly here. And so I wonder if Kevin's just been on it the whole time.
That gap has actually grown now. I noticed a couple times on the onboard, he's starting to bobble a lot down on the bottom side of the track. So Kevin Ammon now losing time to Kyle Ammon. And we might have a battle for third back on our hands with 15 or so laps to go between these guys. In fact, that was, I want to say 18 laps across the line that time. Coming to 17 the next time is Kyle Ammon. He even buzzes the rears a little bit up out of the corner trying to chase Kevin. And I don't know the relation, so if somebody in the chat does know the relation, by all means reach out. Let us know. But I would assume brothers between these two as they're both sliding around.
Absolutely. We've seen the gap come down. Kyle was almost a second back of Kevin. He had the car in between. Matthews pulled off the track, and he has since allowed Kyle Ammon to really turn up the wick here. Coming around to 15 laps to go. Kyle might just have something now. He breaks it within under 0.4 of a second now.
Kyle Ammon closing in on Kevin. This would be a battle for third position, the bottom step of the podium, and that's some cash. So I know these guys are related. It seems they're likely teammates as well. I think running very similar numbers and paint schemes, but that doesn't mean they're not going to fight here for this money. I think it's about $10 they're fighting for between third and fourth position. So by all means, go out there, get those bragging rights, and get the few dollars. That's a couple of cups of coffee. I mean, that is, that's an iRacing track if you have a discount. Or a car even. That's a couple of Happy Meals. There's plenty of different ways you can spend that $10. So by all means, fight it out.
Absolutely, and I wonder what that conversation would be like if they really do go back to battling, because we saw them battle earlier, and it looked like Kyle just kind of moved over, let Kevin through more than anything, and it might come back to bite him. Now Kyle has started to lose a little bit of time.
It seems like as soon as these guys catch somebody, they lose grip. I don't know if it's just they push for a few laps, overheat the tires, and then fall back, but as soon as they catch somebody, they lose grip suddenly and have a big bobble in the center of the corner, and that's pretty much their run done.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe dirty air is playing a factor because he started to close the gap. He closed it to about 0.3 of a second, and kind of lost it from there. Got lap traffic in the way up here.
We do have Joshua Osborne just ahead of these guys. Also, Brandon Minnick has recently pitted about 10 laps ago. He has worked back onto the speedway in the 8th position, but is 3 laps down and ahead of Matt Cucker here on track, so he should let him by soon. And Angel Ortega has recently called it a day, actually, as he comes into the pit lane and is done. He had just gone 1 lap down. Harberts, though, it'll be 6 laps to go, this time by currently 7, as Minnick is going to pass Ortega, who's in the pits. And Harvard just has 6 more trips. That's 3 miles around 5 Flags, and he has got a Tour Mod win.
Yeah, absolutely. He has now a 5-second gap. He's more or less just riding it out to the finish here. He's done all the work. We saw him again, do all that battling in the first race, sit behind Brad Souza, struggle and try to find a way around him. But just not a whole lot he could have done with the SK. Here in the Tour Mod now, he did battle Souza for the 3/4 of the lap that he did, and Souza obviously spun out there out of 4 on the opening lap. But since then, Harberts, he came to this race ready to rock, and there he is. He's coming around to 3 laps to go with a 5.5-second advantage.
The Emmons are getting closer yet as they're inside of 0.3 to one another. But, yeah, I think this entire race hinges on the start, on the first lap where Brad Souza loses control. I think if he doesn't lose control out of turn 4 that time, we've got one of the best races of the week on our hands, and unfortunately that's just the way she goes sometimes. Big problems for Brad Souza. He will finish dead last in this race. Ammons, they are close together, a couple of tenths apart now, 4 tenths to be exact, between Kevin and Kyle, as the white flag is going to fly here at 5 Flags for Jacob Harberts. Just 1.5 mile to go for the number 80, up out of turn number 2, and back into turn number 3, and it's just a smooth sailing Tour Mod win for him in Elite Performance Industries Speedweek. Congratulations, Jacob Harberts, for the Tour win.
Fantastic stuff. I mean, Harberts, again, he was fast all night long. He was deserving of this one for sure. He showed up and showed out in a big way.
Yeah, once the lap 1 issues happened, nobody could touch the 80. Simply nobody had speed. It was all on Brad Souza. I think that's fair to say. And unfortunately, he had that mistake on the opening lap. Let's go back and check out our unofficial race results then for the Tour race. And again, the Tour Mod race, it all changes because of lap 1, but that is racing sometimes. Jacob Harberts with the win, and Emerson, look at that gap to second.
I mean, it's crazy. 6.5 seconds over Matt Cucker. And, Matt is no slouch. That is a hefty gap over a very quality driver. Kevin Ammon outduels Kyle Ammon for that 3rd and final spot on the podium. Patrick Gitter rounds out the top 5.
We can talk about who else that crash took out was, well, not just Brad Souza, but also Luke Baldwin and Matthew Boniface, a couple of drivers that I think would have done a lot in this race, especially Boniface. He has been in every one of these races, I feel like, has always been good, towards the top 5, if not better, and unfortunately, out on the first lap as you can see the rest of the results there. Minnick, Ortega, Matthews, and Osborne all laps down. And then you see Boniface, Baldwin, and Souza. They made the start, but unfortunately out on laps 1 and 2 as a result of the lap 1 incident with Brad Souza. Jacob Harberts goes to victory lane, though, here for the Tour Mods, and talk about an improvement between races 1 and 2. But what happened there on the opening lap?
I think Souza was just trying to get everything he could to pull me on the outside. For those first couple of laps, the cars are really sketchy on cold tires. So I think he was trying to just see what he could do, try and keep me pinched on the bottom, and he almost completed it, but just the rear end stepped out on him, coming out of 4, which unfortunately collected part of the field, and ended his race as well.
And Jacob, of course, between the SKs and the tour types, there's a big difference. While they look the same and they might mechanically kind of feel the same and act the same, there's a difference of about 300 horsepower between them. How much did that play into lap 1?
I mean, it's huge. That the right rear will feel it. Just over the course of the race. But just like the SKs, you have to start off a little bit free. And it's just that much more difficult to drive in the early stages of the race. Once the tires come to you, it gets a little bit easier, but those first couple laps are always a little bit sketchy, especially when you're battling side by side for position.
So a lot of times, of course, when you burn the right front off of a car, it'll get tight, and then start to get really free as it drives off of the right rear later in the run. You want the opposite then in a modified. You want to try and drive off the right rear early and then use the right front later in the run. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's what I like to do. I'm assuming other teams do that as well. If you start off fast, then you won't be good in the long run. Unfortunately, you have to start it off loose and sketchy, and the car will come to you as the run goes on. Yep.
Well, hey, we love these modifieds, but we've got late models tomorrow. Do we see you in either the late model stock race or the super race?
I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm undecided, so may or may not happen.
Well, you've got some great side cash now that you can use to enter those races, so hopefully we see the number 80 in each of those, but regardless, congratulations this evening, and hopefully best of luck tomorrow.
Appreciate it.
Jacob Harberts with a big-time win here in the Tour Mods. All 75 laps led Emerson over this guy, Matt Cucker, who finished second.
And Matt Cucker, he had a pretty good race. He went from 5th to 2nd there in the opening sequence, but not able to do really much with Jacob Harberts. Matt, tell us about the race.
Yeah, I mean, that first lap there, watching Brad get sideways, and that was kind of shocking. Wasn't expecting that. I knew we started off loose, and I mean, I was not expecting him to step out like that and wreck, but I mean, we were able to squeak by. I think we got a little net coat on the right front, and it made me really, really tight from there. I mean, I don't know what else I could have done. I was just really tight, and then all of a sudden, towards the end there, it started to get snapped loose on me, so hey, we'll take a P2.
It was a pretty good race overall, Ven, for you. Do we plan on seeing you in tomorrow's races?
And the late model race, I'm registered for. I mean, I ran a bunch of laps there when the official series was there 2 weeks ago, so hopefully that'll help me. I mean, we'll see. But I can't thank the guys at Zeem set up shop enough for the Tour Mod and SK sets. I mean, it's been a blast coming back and run some short track races.
Well, there you go. Second place, Matt Cucker. Congratulations on the second place finish tonight, Matt. Best luck to you in tomorrow's races.
Thank you, guys.
There you go, Matt Cucker with another solid finish, moving up one position just like Harberts did. And Kevin Ammon, somebody who did not race the SK race, shows up and shows out in his own way, finishing third. And Kevin, first off, I want to establish the relationship, of course, between yourself and Kyle Ammon. You guys brothers, father, son, what's the deal?
We're brothers.
Well, you definitely had some brotherly love fighting early. What was that like going toe-to-toe with your brother then?
It's always fun to go and race side by side with him. We race harder than anybody on the racetrack, I feel like, together, so it's always fun.
And clearly, while you guys maybe started to get slidey there at the end of 75 laps, you definitely had longer run cars underneath you as you caught and passed Ryan Matthews and others and made it look easy. How do you set up for that kind of thing? How do you prepare, and how do you save tires over the course of the run to make sure that you'll be better later on?
I just focus on not spinning them off the corner, mainly. Have drive at the end. Still was a little too free, dead center, which hurt my drive off at the end, but I was better than some, so worked out.
And I can't talk to you without asking you about lap number 1. How'd you get through that melee on the front stretch?
I just look ahead and try to find the open hole there, so it lucked out that I had some problems during qualifying and starting the back so I could see it real well.
And you get some side cash as well for finishing third tonight. Does that mean you're entering late model races tomorrow?
We'll see. We'll see. Mainly do modified stuff, so I'll test it out here probably tonight or tomorrow afternoon, see what I got. Might enter, might not. I don't know yet.
Well, come on out and have some fun. We hope to see you in either the late model stock race or the supers or both, man. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all putting this on for us, and it was a good time.
That it was. And Kevin Ammon, rather. See, I knew I'd do it at some point. Kevin, congratulations. Hopefully we see you tomorrow night.
I appreciate it.
Kevin Ammon, of course. Kevin finishes over Kyle tonight in the 3rd spot. Well, that is 6 days of racing, Emerson. I don't really know how else to sum it up. You know, we've almost grown a little bit numb to Fallujah and Five Flags, but nothing can be more exciting than going into a night of just straight-up late model racing tomorrow evening, all beginning at 7 o'clock Eastern for late model stock cars, and then super late models here on the sim. You know, I've gone around the last couple of years with the Cars Tour, seen a lot of late model stock racing. I've never been able to go see late model stock racing. I don't even think late model stocks really run at Five Flags. They certainly don't for the Derby. You get super late models and pro late models, and other classes go along with it. So late model stock racing to open the night, you know, that's kind of my forte, what I've been around the last few years. That's going to be interesting here on the half mile at Five Flags. And of course, supers. This is their bread and butter, pretty much. This is where they come and settle the whole year of racing, really, is Pensacola, Florida. So it makes sense to have supers finishing off the week.
Absolutely, and it's kind of just been settling, building to this. And we have 2 big boy races going on tomorrow. I can't wait to get there, see the late models and the super lates, and kind of just put a whole bow tie on the week, because it's been a fantastic week of racing, and hopefully that can continue on to tomorrow, and we get some great stuff, great quality stuff to close out Speed Weeks.
And after EPI Speed Week, we'll have the beginning of 2023 Season 1. We might even have some legend racing here on the channel. More to come on that soon. But otherwise, we have the conclusion of a season actually on Wednesday, on December 14th. It is the Outlaws Sim Series from Richmond Raceway. The Final 4. Emerson, who are they?
Yeah, well, it was Scott Bailey who won his way into the Championship 4 by his win at Atlanta, and it was pointed to the rest of the 3 with Jonathan Jennings, Max Service, and Seth Berger. Seth making his 3rd consecutive Championship 4 appearance, Max making his 2nd, and Scott and Jennings making their 1st in the Outlaw Sim Series, but it's their 1st season as well. So some fantastic stuff, some great quality drivers at Richmond Raceway. I love Richmond. I think it's a fantastic short track and a perfect season finale venue. So we're going to see them do battle for 300 laps there on Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
And on Thursday, it's Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, December 15th at 8:30 Eastern for the North American Racing League GT3 cars. We have seen a complete renaissance of the Audi R8 and the Lamborghini Huracan in GT3 racing now, as the Week 13 update did a lot to those cars, changing the tire model, a physics model, everything. Realistically, with those GT3 cars, even the VOP, which again has brought the renaissance of the Audi and the Italian Audi, as we called it on Thursday at VIR. So if you're at all interested, or maybe might be interested, or just want to watch some racing, I highly suggest Canadian Tire Motorsport Park on Thursday for some GT3 action. But that will do it for us this evening for EPI Speed Week day number 6. Go ahead and follow us on social media, facebook.com/pitstoptv, twitter.com/pitstoptv_, Instagram.com/pit_stop_TV, YouTube.com/C/pitstoptv1, and Twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV. Emerson, it's been a lot of fun. I know what we kind of already talked about the late model race coming up, but how do you sum up this day of racing as we get ready for late models and the conclusion of a week-long contest here?
Very, very high power, high quality short track racing vehicles to close out the week. It's going to be a blast. Not really sure what to expect. Again, I'm getting gain a legitimate taste of short track racing myself, and I think it's been a brilliant sampler of it.
Yeah, we've been talking about the class differences between some of these cars, especially last night with the pros and supers on dirt, and tonight with the SKs and tour types on track. But it's been a lot of fun just having this refresher on short track racing in general here on Pit Stop TV. So Tyler Payne, you're doing God's work in that way at least, and hopefully this is the beginning of something big with Elite Performance Industries. Thanks so much for watching here at Pit Stop TV. We really do appreciate it. For all of us at the channel, again, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time, hopefully tomorrow night, for late model stock and super late model racing right back here at Five Flags for Day 7 of EPI Speed Week.